Hello, Professor and Nakia. This is a review of the class project paper by Nakia called Wireless Electricity. So I reviewed your paper, Nakia, and this is what the PowerPoint will be covering. Obviously, you wrote the paper, and it's going to cover the format of the paper, the, and the presentation will go over my thoughts, observations, and feelings on your paper. And I hope that it is detailed enough that you can make any changes and that you get something out of this presentation. So first off, the format of your paper, Wireless Electricity. There were 3 questions used to evaluate this section. Were all the required sections included? Were they clearly distinguished from one another? And if not, were reasons given for not including some? The only thing that I saw that was not included was there was no table of contents. The headings were clearly separating the paper, so I had no problem with that. And I did not see any reasons for not including the table of contents, so it is understandable that it is a draft that they may have been missed or just didn't have time to get them in there, but I did not see them. Otherwise, the headings clearly separated the paper, and that was easy to follow. I gave you a visual over here just to show the table of contents were missing from where they should be. Next up is this historical timeline predecessor assessment. This section is assessed on the 3 categories of sources, content, and writing skills. So under sources, there were 3 sources in this section, and the issue for me with your sources is kind of a running topic throughout your paper. I see that there were sources because there were in-text citations, but I didn't really know where your sources began or if they were quotes, or I didn't see any introduction to many of the sources, so I didn't know from what publication they came from. So it just left me not knowing how to take the information that you were giving me from your sources and apply it to your paper. The content, I really didn't feel like in this section the content followed the assignment that we were supposed to be doing for this particular section. There was not enough talk about the history of this technology. For me, I assumed that the history and predecessor assessment would be something that would be technology that led up to what you were talking about, which in my mind would mainly be electricity, but no electricity or the history of electricity was really mentioned. Overall, your writing skills were very good throughout the paper, and in this section, of course, I was not distracted by any punctuation or grammar errors, so that made it really nice to read, even though maybe I had trouble following exactly what you were saying or just piecing it all together. The error-free punctuation and grammar really did make it easy to read, so I did enjoy that. Next up is the analysis of impact evaluation. Once again, this will be assessed using the 3 categories of sources, content, and writing skills. There were 3 sources in this section again. Once again, there's no real introduction, and the only one that really meant something to me was where you referenced the FDA and the FCC, because I know what those bodies of government are. Over here on the left, you can see that I went to the Purdue website, which has a section on references and in-text citations, and I have the source down there. But basically, it just tells you exactly in basic terms how you're supposed to do in-text citations, and my main thing is just saying they need to be introduced so people understand where they're coming from, so they actually have meaning to the reader. Your content was good because it was separated by headers. I felt like during this section maybe there could have been more referenced work, even though you did have 3 sources. But overall, it was good, and the content spoke to your headers. Once again, it was mostly error-free, and I was not distracted by the grammar or any punctuation errors, so good job on that. Next up, ethical considerations. Once again, assessed on 3 categories: sources, content, and writing skills. I counted 5 sources used in this section. Once again, no introduction to these sources. The main thing for me was the visuals that were used in this section. There was no introduction of them. You didn't introduce them in any way or mention their data in your paper. So it was left up to me to understand how they applied. And so I copied and pasted this section of your paper so that you could read it. I mean, I know that you have the paper, of course, and you'll be able to go back and read it, but just so that you understand what I was looking at. There was good content with good ideas as to why this technology would affect humans in general, and your writing skills, once again, are very good. In my concluding remarks, I know that this is a rough draft. I understand that when we all kind of got logged in on Monday and realized we had to turn this in by Tuesday, there was probably a rush. And so I know mine was a little rushed as well. I have mentioned some things to work on, most notably the references. But overall, I found that it was a good paper because there was no punctuation or grammar errors. And to me, that makes all the difference because I have read and reviewed many papers during my time at DeVry, and when they do not have good punctuation, good grammar, good spelling, it makes it very difficult to read, and you kind of just want to tell the person to redo the paper. But in your case, I think you have some good bones, a good start, and just a few things to work on. Here are my references. Obviously, I referenced your paper, and this is the in-text citations, the basics from the Purdue OWL. So, Nakia, thank you for allowing me to read your paper. I did find it enjoyable. Good luck, and hopefully you can take away something from what I have said.